I'd like to welcome everybody back to our conversation, and I would like to welcome back our friend from Israel, who, as we'll discuss, happens to be here in the United States, Yossi Levy. Yossi, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey Seth, good to be here again. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good, doing good.
Fantastic. So, we're going to go through a conversation which is going to provide a very timely and very important update in several respects with respect to what's going on in Israel, both with regard to your community, the situation regarding the war, and your current travel here in the United States to help people understand more about what's going on. We are speaking with you on these podcasts roughly every month or so. So, of course, there have been many changes. Let's just jump right into it. Please tell us what is the latest situation with regard to how life in Israel is going on for your family and for your community.
Well, Seth, this is a an ongoing, evolving situation. The northern communities and some of the southern communities around the Gaza envelope are still in the same situation, and it's only been degraded as the time progresses. We are now 10 months into this process. We are about 6 weeks from another school year that our kids will pretty much will not be able to return home, return to their school, return to their friends, to their normal known, at least what was known to them then as their environment. It's been challenging because you don't necessarily feel, at least for sure in the north, you don't feel the progress. You don't see this coming to end. You don't see us in a point where we can give a sense of hope to our kids that, hey, listen, stretch it a little bit more. We're soon back home. You'll soon return to your friends, to your regular surrounding. And unfortunately, we're not there. So that's in general speaking about the North. With regard to our specific community, well, again, our kibbutz is spread thin throughout Israel. Our great community that was displaced to the south in Sde Boker, unfortunately, had to relocate, and just finding a new location to relocate to, it's a it's a it's a very complicated situation.
And Yossi, as you're talking us through this piece, we have, and we'll be going through a few slides today. We have the first one
Right.
up. Can you walk the audience through what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so again, summer is summer, but we don't have the privilege of a summer traditionally as it used to be for us in the kibbutz, where our kids will have summer camp throughout the whole kibbutz year. And we needed to make up, and we are making up and creating it as we go, alternative summer programs for the kids. From preschool, kindergarten, elementary, middle school, and even the high schoolers. They need some structure and some plans for the summer. The summer is Israel is 10 weeks. Seth, it's a very long time frame, and for those parents among us evacuees who maintain their day-to-day job, we need to make sure that we have alternatives and people that occupy their kids so that people could maintain and work, and even for themselves, for them peace of mind, and to have some sense of normality, we got to maintain their jobs. So also during the summer we have summer programs. We have what we consider like an after school programs. We do some additional tutoring and school and educational information towards the next year. Keep in mind the previous school year was not a normal school year. Kids missed a lot of school, and some of them, whenever we were already in a school mode, it wasn't completely a school mode. So we're trying to make up gaps. We're trying to fit for them alternatives. We need to relocate, and relocating, it's very complex. You need to find an environment, a county, a city that will be able to accumulate all the individuals, all the families, provide them with their personal needs.
Right,
And on top of that, the most important, to find the kids a decent school structure for them for this
right.
coming school year. As again, we know our prime minister, our not prime minister, I'm sorry, our minister of education said just the other day that unfortunately we will not return home for our next school year. That's old news. We know that for months. And unfortunately, yes, our kids in the next coming school year until mid 2025 will not be able to return home.
So Yossi, help us understand and we'll talk about the numbers in a few minutes. My understanding, and we'll granulate this, we'll specify this shortly. There's roughly 90,000 families, 90,000 people that have been uprooted and are refugees in their own homeland. So for families such as yours that have careers and professional lives that are, even though they're uprooted, have to try to somehow keep their family financially alive. They're uprooted. Their kids are uprooted. They have to go and find different places and things to do during these summer months. Obviously, that involves new arrangements, new facilities, new expenses. Help us understand what that means. I mean, it's not like everybody can just find tomorrow new free stuff. You know, what is involved in terms of the resources and the financial burdens that are placed upon you while you're trying to avoid and keeping your children safe from getting attacked by Hezbollah?
So exactly as you mentioned, it means everything new for our kids is new area, new schools, new teachers, new friends, new environment to get used to, new surrounding to get used to. Requires everything new from our end. If we were up till now in a hotel that provided us with the majority of the things we needed, now we're going to a different location that does not exactly provide everything the similar way. So we need to adjust to that. We need to find the things to buy and to get for the remaining of our community. We need to reset again some sort of a facility for our kids where they could be and play. Now it's summer, so it's nice you can be outside, even that it's so hot and so humid, but winter comes, so we need a space for them. We need to build this space in a sense, occupy it, stage it, have for them whatever they need there, from games to furniture, whatever the case may be. These are all things that we need. Not to mention relocating 40 families from the south, a lot of
Just
equipment. Yeah.
just from your neighborhood, just from your kibbutz alone, 40 families, in other words.
Our kibbutz is 408 families.
400 families, I'm sorry.
Our small community
Yes,
located to the south is just 40. But
got it.
yes, people, even people that rent homes,
Yes.
the debate: do we rent for another school year? Do we rent month to month? Is it easy? Is it possible? Where
Right.
do we do that? So there's everything is constantly changing.
Right.
I gave a lecture last week in a congregation in LA, and I told people, somebody asked me, how does it feel to be you? And I said, it feels as if you have a very, very limited control over your life. Not
Right.
because
Right.
I'm not able, just because the
Sure.
circumstances surrounding us
Right.
constantly changing.
And I think that we have to again emphasize, and just mentioning this briefly before we move on to another element of all this, everything relates to not only the inconvenience of uprooting your family and moving, but the financial resources that you need to do that. You have to find supplies, you have to find a building, you have to find teachers. These things cost money, right?
These things cost money. Renting and paying for facilities costs money.
Right.
Having the staff to occupy them costs money. We need
Right.
counselors, we need advisors, we need teachers, we need staff, even for the
Right.
summer. So we need kindergarten staff. We need the people, and we need to
Sure.
be able to pay them. Not everything is government supported and funded,
Sure.
and even if it is, it doesn't necessarily within the timeframes where we need the funding.
Right. So, of course, the IDF gets financial support as they should and as they deserve. But what we're talking about is a significant gap in resources and funding for the civilian community.
Yes.
Let's move on to another topic because we have a lot to cover. What is the
Yeah.
current military situation in Israel?
So basically, we are at war, but without being defined as a war. I'm speaking about the North at this moment.
Hmm.
Um, from the government perspective, we are below the threshold of war. And obviously, Seth, as you know, the meaning of war has a lot of financial implementation
Right.
and meaning and resources that the government will need to provide, and they are very, very delicate on using and defining what's happening in the north as a war at this very moment. But for people who live there, myself, that my parents live there, and my in-laws live there, and my friends, and some of them who are in the first responders or work the farming facilities in our kibbutz. This is war. If you
Yeah.
constantly need to evacuate yourself to shelter daily, you're at
Yeah.
war. If your life interrupts by rockets and by
Yeah.
alerts every day, you are at war. There's no other definition. We can massage it as much as we want. It's war.
Yeah.
And
We
you can
we
see the numbers. The numbers speaks for
exactly.
themselves. They are enormous. The
Hmm.
casualties are enormous. The civil casualties. It's not only we're not fighting an army that respect civil
Hmm.
communities and fighting
Hmm.
the by the rule of law,
Hmm.
the rule of the wars.
Yeah.
It's basically a war that is not defined in war. The
And it's being
damages are enormous.
and it's being attacked and it's being addressed to civilians. When our audience is looking at these numbers, which are up on the screen, I would
Yes.
encourage them to keep in mind that in our life here, imagine almost 7,000 rockets and dozens killed, hundreds injured, and 95,000 evacuees. Imagine if that was something that was happening in South Texas. If we had to evacuate the equivalent of two large universities in order for them to not get killed by almost 7,000 rockets and 2,500 drones, then but you're living in a situation that is so consistently dire that it barely even meets the definition of what is a war. I think that we really have to keep these things in context. So you're
Yeah.
really helping to allow us to understand just the sheer scope of what's happening there on a week to
Yeah.
week and a day to day basis.
And that's Seth, only the north. As you could
Only the
have
North,
seen, that's only the north. As you
right?
could see last week, again, the Houthis from Yemen are constantly showing their presence, constantly feeling the need to get involved and to be a part of this war with a very,
Hmm.
very brutal attack on Tel Aviv. It's very sad, on the other hand, when it's Tel Aviv, so it's all over the news and immediately it's interrupting the day-to-day life of every civil citizen in Israel. Well, during, I mean, in just yesterday alone, my parents in Shlomi had like 5 alerts. That doesn't seem to move or shake anybody in the Israeli
Yeah,
parliament, the government. So it's the Yemens, it's Iran,
yeah,
it's Hezbollah, it's Hamas, who fired
yeah,
rockets early today to Ashkelon again,
yeah,
10 months into this war, and they have the ability yet to fire rockets. It's
yeah,
Judah and Samaria, which is constantly escalating and escalating. The army, the IDF started to use their measures that were never used there
yeah.
before.
Every
Attack with
day.
airplanes, with fighter jets and drones. That has never in recent years happened. So the
Hmm.
escalations in all of our frontiers is
Yeah,
constantly getting greater and expanding, and the
yeah,
risks and the threats expanding. Yet,
yeah.
again, we don't see an end to it,
Well, and
unfortunately.
I think it's important for people to hear this updated context because the American media, well, some of the American media do not cover this. And what they are hearing is a drumbeat of, oh, Israel needs to ceasefire, Israel needs to ceasefire. They have absolutely no coverage of this. They have absolutely no understanding that almost 100,000 people just from the
Mhm.
north have evacuated, and that they're getting showered with rockets by Hezbollah, as if
Mhm.
somehow it's just up to Netanyahu and he can just wave a magic wand. The other thing that
Right.
I find very interesting in talking about this attack on Tel Aviv, where one rocket did make it through from the Houthis, it missed the American embassy building in Tel Aviv, not by very much. And
Right.
then within 24 hours, the American media asked one of the military officials in the United States, are you going to respond militarily? And there was a very fluffy answer where basically the answer was no. The only nation that responded promptly with regard to this attack that almost hit the embassy of the United States was Israel. They responded in
Right.
kind. And it was only after that that America provided any kind of response. So again, I would just encourage people just to take this data into account. This is actual real-time data that we're hearing from Yossi. The
I would like Seth. Excuse me for interrupting, but I want
please.
to elaborate on what you mentioned because it's very important for the American
Hmm.
uh, people who see this. When the U.S. do not respond aggressively to the Yemen's the Yemens were they were basically putting a finger in their eye. They were trying to poke the bear, and the
Hmm.
bear stayed asleep. When American and the U.S. do not respond
Hmm.
to such an attempt to attack your embassy,
Hmm.
the other nations, the Russians, the Chinese, the interpretation of that is weakness. We
Yes.
cannot afford a weaker US in the Middle East.
Well,
The need for
yeah.
America to show its strength and to show and to demonstrate her leadership needs to be not only by talks but by acts, and not only on the preventive and defensive side but also on the attack side.
Yeah.
And
There is
it's
a
not seen, and it's a shame.
It's a shame, and peace through strength is an idea that I wish would ring a little bit more solidly in the United States. Just a day or two ago, bombers from China and Russia flew a joint mission of purposefully interdicting and going into Alaskan American airspace to
Right,
purposefully
right.
provoke and have American jets have to take off and escort them back out. Strength,
Mhm.
peace through strength is an idea that is not going to be amplified in the United States when Bibi steps in front of a joint session of Congress and many people from a particular party decide to walk out and be critical and allow vandalism and hoodlums to deface and tear down and burn American flags in front of Union Station, which is 2 blocks from the Capitol, at the
Right.
time then that Bibi is talking in front. I mean, it's just absolutely. This context and this conversation that we're having is very critical. I know there's so much to cover. I'd like to ask you another topic.
Yes.
Why tell the audience why you're here in the United States and tell us an update in terms of the discussions and the events of what is occurring with you here in the United States. And where does this podcast find you today?
So, as the school year was gearing towards the end of it, we constantly, my wife and I, and you met my wife. You know, she's been managing our
And
kibbutz
your kids,
community.
fantastic, beautiful family.
Thank you. Down in the south, so we were debating, and I, and you hosted me already in DC as well. I became
Hmm.
very involved and engaged with speaking and feeling the need to express and to be a voice for the ones who are not able to be heard, and advocate and share the story. And we felt that we need to do and take it to the next step. And the next step was us to come on some sort of an independent advocacy journey in the US. And we launched it at the beginning of July. The purpose was to come here, go among cities, communities, Jewish, Christians, other younger generations, students, elderly people, whomever has an interest to be more knowledgeable, to have information from firsthand from people that experience and live there, to mitigate the gap of information provided to the average American who sees on TV as opposed to what it is in real life, and mainly to express the frustration, the agony, and the situation of the majority of the northern evacuees. So we launched that independently. We are currently in the West Coast in LA, conducting weekly lectures in congregations and synagogues and in people's homes.
So
Whoever
you're in
wanna.
Los Angeles right now. You and your
Right now
family are
we're
in
in,
Los.
yes, yes, we are in Los Angeles. Our kids, with the help of some very, very generous and dear families help us send our kids to a summer camp. They were open for this experience. After everything that they've been through, they were very kind and open and resilient. From our perspective, they were very resilient to be able to go through a 3 week summer camp, a camp Ramah, and a night camp, a sleepover camp, and to share there as well in Hebrew or in their broken or childish English, their experiences. It's been a week for them there. They're doing a great job. I actually speak with you right now when I'm in Philly. I flew here for 48 hours for two speaking engagement, and I'm flying back, but it's all done independently. So
Hmm.
we're trying to get in front of as many people as we can.
So we here in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, of course, we're going to be distributing this podcast nationwide,
Yes.
and so that everybody understands what's happening. Do you have plans to visit us here in the Washington, D.C. metro area so that we can have you speak with our community? And can you give us a general time frame of when you think that you would be here in the Washington metropolitan area?
Sure. So as we will wrap our West Coast trip through the summer. I believe that September, after the kids get back into school, so the month of September, mid-September, I would designate pretty much to come to the East Coast, and we have here New Jersey, New York, Philly, Maryland, DC. Obviously, Seth, I'm not skipping an
Right.
East Coast without coming and visit you and Rachel, and the great community that's been so supportive of us from
Hmm.
DC. And again, once we will know the exact dates, we will share them, but it will be something that we will do collectively and jointly.
Right.
And we were looking to get in front of as many people as possible. And I want
Yeah.
I want to mention, Seth, one small thing before we conclude.
Of course.
I got a call yesterday from a young kid, 13 years of age. His name is Judah. He's the son of a donor that you actually introduced us to.
Oh, Jude
And this,
is the son of Sasan?
yes,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah, please tell
this
us.
this kid is so mature. He cares so much for Israel. He loves Israel. You see that it's something that it's within his blood. He was raised upon being a Zionist. He wants to turn a part of his bar mitzvah mission to raising funds for Israel and for our kibbutz. I think it's beautiful, not the sense of the money, the thought, the fact that he cares, the fact that he took the time to speak with me and ask questions. From when you hear the questions from a 13-year-old, you see the innocence and the naive, which is beautiful to see and experience. So I just wanted to emphasize that it's something that we're definitely looking forward to continue and do with him. We are also in this journey working hand in hand with Brothers for Life, another organization from Israel that help wounded army soldiers that got wounded during the fights, not only since October 7th, but from also previous wars and military operations. So we're trying to do a lot of good. We're trying to get it all as tight as we can and to make the best out of it. And
Hmm.
obviously, with your help as well.
Well, this is great. You know, it's just so fascinating that Yossi, you and I met at a hotel in the Negev a couple of months ago when
Right.
our rabbi spontaneously walked up to your dinner table, and you were very gracious. And he said, "Would you mind taking some time to talk to our group?" And you were very generous with your time as you've always been. And we became friends, and it's just been really very touching. I love that story. We've only started to really get traction here in the Washington area. I love that you're going to different areas. Rachel and I are delighted to continue to work with you and your lovely family. So we will keep our viewers posted as we get
Hmm.
closer to the mid-September time frame, and
Right.
we will learn more. Even there'll be a lot happening between now and then. As a last note before we let you go, can you help the viewers in the meantime before we see you understand how they can help?
So yeah, so the best way to engage with us is via the email that's below. If you want to follow our journey, We share it on Instagram on a page called Levy's on the Road. We have a daily update. What are we doing? Where have we been? Are the kids are up to? We share everything and anything. We distribute a monthly evacuation aid program that updates our current needs as they go along. Things that we've been able to cover, they get off the list. And obviously, unfortunately, there are new needs that constantly are being added. It's important to emphasize none of our needs are related to us paying, we don't have overheads. We're not in a big organization. We're very slim, tiny, and efficient. We have a donation one pager with the platforms to donate if it's a local US bank account, if it's a Venmo, people can send checks. So everything is there. And the most important thing, Seth, is for people to share, to follow, and if they want to speak with me, with my wife, with us, if they want to get introduced to the kids and hear it from their firsthand, just contact us. We will make ourselves available to everybody and anybody.
Well, that's tremendous, and we all know, although it's not sufficiently and adequately discussed in American media, that you and many thousands of people and families have not been in your house for almost a year. You, though, have continued to have to support your business, your relatives, your friends, your children, your families, while still trying to figure out a way to survive financially and to literally survive to avoid thousands of rockets. We are very proud to be able to have that relationship with you. We are very excited about you coming to Washington in September. People who are watching this broadcast, please feel free to reach out to Yossi before he comes to the United States. And stay tuned, because Rachel and I will keep you very posted as to when and where we're going to have this gathering here in the Washington, D.C. area. So, Yossi, thank you so much again for being so generous with your time, and safe travels.
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate it as always. Thank you.